Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Smart Live Streamer. We're so happy that you could join us. This is episode number 3. Let's get the show started. Well, I'm so excited about today. Special guest on the show. We're talking about soft selling, and somebody who I was basically soft sold too. It's Paul Richards from PTZ Optics and Stream Geeks. Paul, you're the chief streaming officer, right?
That's right. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah. Hey, I want to make sure we get the titles right. You got so much stuff going on. You guys are doing so much great things with, the Worship Summit that's now the second one that you've done. And it's so much great stuff. And, really kind of you're still setting trends in the industry. And I think that's really great. As I started off the show, you were selling your products to me when you didn't even realize you were selling your products to me. The camera that is on the show now is a PTZ Optics 30X camera. We have 3 of them. We love the things, but it really just started with me being taught something new when I was just getting into this live streaming game several years ago. First, Paul, I just want to, as things are going on right now, you and the family are safe. It looks like you might be at home working from home. Is that correct?
Well, our team here at PTZ Optics and Stream Geeks is all at home, but my home is 1 block from my studio.
Oh.
So I'm in here all alone. I am in the studio, which is nice, and I still have been live streaming and making videos, even by myself, and it's been a lot of fun. The family's safe. We're here in Chester County of Pennsylvania, where we haven't had a major spike. I mean, that my cousin got the coronavirus down the street. People on the street I live in have it, but it hasn't been an explosion like we've seen in the major cities like New York. Well,
that's really good. And it's interesting. I'm also in the studio alone running the production myself. You're probably running your production yourself. It's amazing what you can do with this technology. And how easy it has become for people to be able to live stream various things.
It really has. Ryan, you're in the innovator category, but what's happened since the coronavirus is this massive push towards work from home, video communications from home, live streaming as a one-man band in a studio or from home. And now we're moving into the early majority of everybody's trying to get onto this. And you are one of the old OGs, if you will. You're one of the original innovators, because a lot of people who want to get started right now can't, because everything's sold out. The world can't just supply everybody with cameras and switchers and microphones in 1 month or 1 week,
right?
For that matter, which is what's happening right now.
How has that been for PTZ Optics? I mean, are you seeing your inventory is flying off the shelf across all of your camera line segments?
Yes. So it's good and bad. The good news is that basically everyone in the world is trying to start live streaming or video conferencing, and we've been in the market growing our business, doing that, helping people do that for years. And to get to the topic of soft selling, basically all we do is teach people how to use our products with live streaming, video conferencing, video communication tools. And our YouTube channel is, 300% what it used to be. We got over, our YouTube channel on PTZ Optics has 17,000 subscribers, and we got over 1,000 subscribers this last month. That's just we never even came close to that before. So this whole content marketing and soft selling strategy that we've been, promoting with our cameras and our services has really paid off, because everyone's at home watching YouTube right now. And it's really an effective strategy long term, but right now we're seeing a short-term boom, I would say, for sure.
That's really interesting. So 1,000% just on your YouTube channel, but that's probably videos that people have gone back and watched, stuff from 2000 and dare I say 16, when you were in that makeshift conference room / thing. How did it start? when you started with PTZ Optics, did you always envision that you would be doing this kind of thing and then spinning off to Stream Geeks? Or what was your kind of go at this? How did you pitch it?
Well, so I started in professional audiovisual sales, and I was not very good at that at all. You're supposed to put on a suit, you're supposed to cold call, you're supposed to go out and drop your business card off, and you're supposed to say, hey, if you ever need professional audiovisual technology, I can help design this stuff. I have designers and installers, and that's the traditional professional audiovisual model. And it was just not working with me. I wasn't good at putting on a tie. I didn't even feel comfortable in a suit. And that was me coming right out of college in, early, 2008, 2009, not to mention that they were just kind of coming out of a recession. But slowly I realized it took me some time that, marketing was more my thing. And soft selling came a lot more natural to me. I'd rather, help someone through the process of doing something than try to sell them something, that, we're just kind of telling them what they want, which is really what happens in this industry a lot of times, because in the technology industry, a lot of it is, mystical to these end users, and they don't know what they need or how it works, and they just trust someone. And, usually, hopefully people, respect that trust. But in the soft selling model, which I learned from like vloggers and people who are making videos and people who are even just vlogging about their daily lives, letting people into the process, their creative process, I realized that I can learn how to do things, share that with the world, and it becomes this model of collaboration and sharing, and that can really grow. And it started to grow a business around it. I remember going to my boss and saying, I want to start a live streaming show. And I really do remember him saying, how much time is that going to take you? Are you sure it's a good idea? And I don't blame him, because if you go back to our first shows, we looked horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. I was using vMix at the time. That was a smart decision, because I was able to really grow into mastering that product. And I just kind of pretty much ignored everything else unless I had to use something else. But, man, we were not very good at the beginning, let me tell you. We were using Zoom. We thought we were capturing Zoom and streaming that. And it was just a mess, but we got better and better over the years.
Well, and it's almost like that, trying to break through that traditional ROI mindset, where as you think whatever you do has to have an immediate return, and you have to be able to analyze that value in that metric. But unbeknownst to us, for, months ago, even a year ago, that the coronavirus and COVID-19 would come, and then you'd be basically sitting on all of this content now that people are consuming that will then have a marked increase on your sales for the next 6 to 8 months as people are really gearing up these things. And so I think it's somewhat breaking the traditional mindset of understanding that this isn't just about pawning widgets, right? This is about building brand value, brand awareness, and genuinely helping people, because I think people will know if you're not authentic about your willingness to help them. I think we've seen where people try to do the thing, but they're more pitching their thing than they're necessarily willing to give you something, right? You guys just want to kind of break the mold, test what happens. You've done so much. So real quick, talk about the transition, though, when this really became serious and when you had permission to fire up the studio in Westchester and launch this Stream Geeks thing and really start pushing the envelope. I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah. So, one of the major changes for us was learning how to use HubSpot and understanding the inbound marketing strategy. Because with that as a kind of a core motivator and core goal to basically generate leads and then nurture them through email campaigns and, turn those leads, very soft, early leads, into customers over a long period of time through a process of nurturing. It's called a traditional sales funnel, but it's not so traditional. Back in the day, a sales funnel was you call someone on the phone, you meet with them in person, they tell you what they want, and you deliver it to them. And mainly that's all handled over the phone. But over the years, it's been very much changed to video marketing, Facebook advertising, Google advertising, downloadables, guides, ways to kind of get that sales relationship going. And what I started to realize over the time is the softer, easier, free value that you can deliver is the most natural way to bring someone into your sphere of influence, if you will. And we noticed, look, these leads are coming in. I create a free guide about this or a free downloadable about that. And then the leads start coming in and they're not buying something right today, but we're starting to get to know each other. The social media channels are growing. And it became a point where we were making a video, at least one video per day. I was really getting aggressive. Like the Casey Neistat was a big, mentor of mine. I was watching everything he was doing. He made a video every single day for a couple of years. And it was incredible how fast his channel was growing. I was like, I think we can do that on the business side of things if I just make a video every day. Long story short, I wasn't making the best videos in the world, but they were, educational. They were getting our name out there. They were building our digital footprint. And then one or two of those videos kind of went viral. Like one or two of them got like 100,000 views because there just simply wasn't anything. There was a couple of them. I remember one was like how to live stream to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. We don't even sell a product that can do that, but I was teaching people how and, showing our product with that. And it got hundreds of thousands of views. And then there was another one. We were launching these Zcam models and I talked about how to use multiple cameras in a single production, just very simple stuff. And it got 500,000 views and every single camera that I showed sold out. And my boss went to me and said, what the heck did you just do? We had these, they're all gone now. We're on back order. And I was like, well, look at this video. It's got 500,000 views. I mean, certain amount of these people are going to buy what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, because you're providing them with information, but it works with any camera, right? And I think that's the difference of the soft selling. You're providing a technique that can be applied with maybe something they own. Many times they may have a GoPro or a DSLR that has a clean HDMI out. Maybe they want to buy a PTZ Optics, or maybe they want to expand to multiple cameras, but they can't right now, but they find value in the information that you're freely providing. And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, I agree. And then, so I remember, the first book I ever wrote was called Live Streaming is Smart Marketing. It was all about finally having my boss admit that, this is working. Go ahead, keep doing your show. And then eventually being able to grow out a little team. It was me and Tess to start. So I had a social media started to work. If you have a good enough, I remember thinking Facebook, what's the point? I was a big YouTube guy. I was like, these videos are working. Let's do that. And then every once in a while I'd post them to Facebook, but I wasn't even posting our videos to Facebook. That's how out of the loop I was. But I noticed, more and more people are messaging us on Facebook. It seems like something's here. And I think if you have the right mindset of delivering value and building a community, which I think is the next part of all of this, once you master the soft selling and the delivery of value, is the building of a community. But we brought Tess on and she started to really focus on social media. And with the right mindset and team, social media for us started to really work. So we got thousands and thousands of likes on Facebook. We started these online groups, which have really been, we hit Facebook groups at the right time. Facebook was really promoting groups. I mean, Facebook in itself changed our business completely because if you think about the past 5 years, Facebook launched live streaming in 2016. That changed the game. There was no, we were very, very early adopters of Facebook live streaming. And then Facebook groups became a huge thing and we jumped on board with that. So both of those things from Facebook really helped us grow, but it was about having the right strategies in place and having a small team in place. As you know, a few years after we hired Tess, we brought on Michael Luttermoser as a professional video producer and started to grow that team out so that we could double down on what we thought was really working as a kind of soft selling content marketing strategy.
Yeah, Facebook totally changed the game in this, and they still continue to innovate. I mean, they're releasing, I think, new products that will be coming up in the next couple weeks and or months as they release that. But they went to 1080 streaming, and now they're talking about people having the ability to watch a Facebook video without actually being signed into Facebook. So that removes that that guardrail, if you will, of people not wanting to be on Facebook as a network, because there has been some negative press about some of the security policies and sharing of data, and so people, I think, are apprehensive right now. I think people, and I've seen an uptick of posts where people say, I've given up Facebook, but I'm back. Why? Because I can't see my friends in person. I want to see them on video. But Facebook is innovating. It's about creating that community, and they're providing tools to be able to have that. Speaking of the community, we should say hi to David Simon. Hey, we're glad to have you join us. He says, hello, Paul Richards and Ryan Brenneman. Talking about that community.
Hi, David.
Hey, David. Talking about that community, David, shows up to NAB to meet with people. He's a part of many of these groups that we're involved in. There's an authentic relationship back and forth, grabbing lunch and things of that nature. That's an important part of it, right? Is fostering that one-on-one. I mean, you and I met on a whim. Actually, I was just in awe of the studio that you had built. I wanted to get into live streaming, and so I was visiting in Jersey. I think I was up in New York City, and I was like, hey, I have a 360 camera. How about I shoot your studio in 360, and we show people what it looks like? It looks completely different now, but and then I went to NAB. I took like every penny I had to get to NAB, and here you are just interviewing people with the show. So it's like, here's your brand. It's absorbed into just about everything, but you're still approachable. And I think that's the thing that people need to understand, is that if you're walking down the street, you're going to stop and talk to them about live streaming.
Yeah, and I've thought about this a lot, and I think that the in-person relationship is so important. But if you look at all of the relationships that you build on social media, in today's day and age with digital technology, 99.9% of your interactions are now happening online. But it's that 1% where you go to New York City, as we met at the Stream Geek Summit, or Las Vegas in NAB, that makes it so strong. So the in-person meetups are incredibly important, and they really solidify long distance. It's a long distance relationship for most of us,
Right.
Especially if you're in some type of niche community like the live streaming community, which is so giving and so accepting and innovating. And, groups are sharing tons of great ideas. It's an incredible industry to be in. But what for any industry, whether it's car parts or, consumer electronics or whatever industry you're in, it surprises me how little use of, the online side of the networking. Like, for example, many, many trade shows are closed right now, but even the trade shows that happen, the small ones, the big ones, it's all about the in-person networking, which I believe is, incredibly important. But it's surprising how many of them, aren't encouraging people to meet up in a Facebook group that can continue that, because that seems to be the natural evolution of many of these relationships. It starts with an in-person or becomes an in-person, which is really incredible. It's really one of the only ways to find that spot for someone in your brain where you're like, I've met them, I've shaken their hand, I've spoken to them in person. An all digital relationship, 100% digital relationship, is difficult because there's so many people.
Right.
It's really hard to cultivate an all digital. But if you just have one or two meetings in person, and then you bring that online, now you're staying in contact for many, many, years to come. And you could be as close or as distant as you want, but it feels still like a real community. Maybe it's just because I'm a digital native, right? Some people are digital migrants, but I've definitely seen this bridge the generational gap where I'm staying in touch with folks who are in their 60s and 70s, and they're using Facebook to stay in touch with me. And I met them at a meetup in Las Vegas or in New York City. So I think it's bridging generations as well.
Well, and as you said, the couple meetings in person, then going digital. Now the hard part is you're going digital and then hopefully going to be able to meet in person. And so I am surprised, though, that more companies are not, at least from a sales perspective, are not opening up into these limited groups of maybe, say, 15 to 20 people and hosting a small by invite Zoom call and just talking about their product, right? Because it is an excellent way to be able to just help educate, to talk about things, because we can't meet up. NAB is canceled. If whenever you're listening to this on the podcast or here on our Facebook show at the Smart Live Streamer, in 2020 of April, major show, tens of millions of dollars of industries that are being disrupted right now. And I am surprised that companies are releasing new product. Still, we just seen Blackmagic release a new A10 Mini Pro, but there's not the two-way street on this, right? Like they still are not having their individual sales reps saying, listen, we just want to talk about it. If you're at all interested in the A10 Mini series or the A10 Mini Pro, we're going to host out of a week long, we're going to have an expert. And each hour, we're going to accept up to 25 people that just want to ask and answer questions, round-based ideas. I am surprised that more of that is not happening.
Yeah, and I think necessity is the mother of invention. So, right now we're forced to use video conferencing and live streaming, and it is going to change the industry. More and more, when it's the only option, everyone's kind of forced to do it. So I think we're going to see more and more folks using, video conferencing and trying to apply their creative, where they had their creative thinking on designing a trade show booth, right? And I was talking to LiveView. They were going to have, LiveView is an amazing live streaming company that builds cellular bonding streaming systems. They were going to have a basketball court. They were going to actually, you know what? I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this. But I
saw the press release about the basketball court. I do know.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm not sure if I have privileged information.
Claudia, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Claudia.
She's episode number 7. So let's get it out now. We've got 4 more to go before we hit live view. But yeah, no, share with the live view thing.
Well, and the idea is just that she's applying so much of her creative talent to an in-person experience. And I know, and I want to talk to her more about this. I know she's taking that creative talent and now saying, how do we do a virtual version of this? Because we're forced to. And that is going to lead to tons of great innovations. You mentioned we hosted the Worship Summit 2.0, which I was incredibly happy with. We live streamed a full day of education on YouTube and Facebook, and then we used Zoom for breakout sessions. I haven't seen a lot of people do that yet, but that's an easy model to replicate, and it was incredibly successful. So I think that these new models of replacing what we used to do in person, if not temporarily, but for the foreseeable future, because of how much less expensive it is. But we mentioned, those in-person experiences, they are irreplaceable. So we will get back to a time when we're meeting in person and having these annual celebrations and events where we all get together, but there's going to be a lot more in between now, where it's digital meetups and digital conferences and all that.
Yeah. Eamon and I were talking about he was the first guest on the show, and off air, we were kind of chatting about, companies I think are probably going to see these significant cost savings that they've occurred now, because they can't attend these shows, and they are finding new ways of doing this type of stuff. And just curious in your model, if you've discussed it all, kind of molding into a different strategy. So you've, at least for me, were really the innovator in soft selling. What are you looking at next? If you can share, where your thought process is going as far as like either where the show's going to go, or how are you helping people in the future?
Well, I'll say we were going a little bit trade show crazy. It was like, we were finding trade shows everywhere. As soon as you go international, it's like it's just endless. How many trade shows there are to possibly attend, and they're great events. Some of these, but they're not cheap to fly people around and put them up in hotels and pay for all the expenses. Not to mention you have to pay for the space, ship everything. It's quite expensive. When you look at going all virtual, like we did with the worship summit, it's just all, and especially if you have a studio, which we do, essentially it's the cost that you want. You scale it to what you want. How much do you want to advertise it? How many dollars do you want to spend on Facebook? It's up to you to scale it. And I would say we generated 20, 50 times as many leads as we would have with a smaller show in the House of Worship space. So it's very scalable. Now, the timing is perfect right now because everyone's at home. So there's, with marketing, what they say is marketers just ruin everything, right? You exploit what's happening right now, and then that's over, and you got to move on to the next thing. So it's this constant churn. But I do think that we're going to be doing a lot more virtual events. I love the idea of bringing a full day of education because in today's day and age, you get all these mini blog posts and the sporadic, bits of information. Podcasts are a great way to sit down and spend a half hour, however long, 45 minutes discussing a topic and really getting, to, some good conclusions. But I think that like writing books, I've really enjoyed the process of writing books where instead of writing 10 blog posts over the course of 2 months, I'd rather release one cohesive book and make that value delivery to customers. And then in the same fashion, yes, we're still going to keep on live stream. We live stream every week, right? But I try to build, I would like to build a full day of education where folks don't have to, attend 200 webinars to get this information. They can block out just one day.
Right. Well, and with all of these things canceling out, the track model is no different than what you would have. I've spoken for Worship Tech Director and have been a contributor to several articles on live streaming with them. And you go to this thing. So you show up in a major city. You have hotels. You can only attend so many tracks anyway, or the different things. And inevitably, it always happens. There's one that overlaps another. And then you don't get that content. So you really have to choose like, okay, well, what's the one I most want to attend? Sometimes it's that conflict torn. Well, online, you can go back and watch it later. And that's a great asset, I think, because more people can become a part of what you're doing. Gosh, these conference spaces are just so insanely expensive. And what you spend for a conference space, what you spend for internet alone at the Las Vegas Convention Center with NAB, you could give away 15 cameras. And it's mind-boggling, right? And so then you can make a greater impact through that. But you mentioned your books and the freely giving away of information. Here your book, that Helping Churches Live Stream, you've been giving those away to churches or to anyone that need them. You had a box outside your door. Swing by and pick them up if you're local. Send us your address. We'll send you a copy of the book. And that book is great. Actually, I have all three of your books. Then you had the ABCs of live streaming, the accelerated broadcast curriculum, which is really great for students. And so it is about giving more than I think what you're taking, right? Inherently, people are going to be interested in your products, but I think it's about leading with wanting to share information and genuinely just help others.
I agree completely. And then, obviously this is all about, working as smart as possible and being as effective as possible, not working as hard as possible. Obviously, hard work is the key here, but trying to be as smart as you can about it. I think there are ways to predict, the way that the economy and the general public is moving. I mean, to me, you listen to these podcasts and you read some books and you look at what people are doing online. It's not that hard with all this social media to spot where are the innovations happening. Zoom was, I knew about Zoom 5-6 years ago. This is the best product on the market. Now they went from 10 million users daily to 200 million users daily. It's not that hard to spot, where the industry's headed. One we just talked about was like virtual events. The events industry, I was looking at the numbers, it's $1 trillion industry expected to grow to $2 trillion. Now, right now, it is at a grinding halt.
Sure.
Governments are like banning large gatherings above, a certain amount. So the industry is taking a huge hit right now. But it was just so obvious to me that NAB, how do they not have a virtual experience? I mean,
Right.
they stream some stuff, but it's not really what it could be. And that's the broadcaster's show, let
Yep.
alone every other show that has no live streams at all. And you just look at this $1 trillion industry, and it's like, wow, they're in for a huge modernization. There are humongous markets and industries out there that, I mean, the way I was talking about this yesterday is like, just look at Zoom video conferencing, and how much that has changed the world. And then just look at it, just the wave of change that's bringing into the entire world and the way that we communicate, from field trips to schools to, virtual field trips to, teaching after hours. It's just at the tip of the iceberg, a lot of this stuff. And now it's being pushed so far forward. So,
I mean, you would
there's
have to
so much change.
You would have to take a bus full of kids, potentially, right? Travel several hours to get to like an aquarium or other things like that. I mean, imagine having the capability of doing a Zoom call where every class in the school was able to virtually take a thing at an aquarium. And they otherwise might not have gone, but could you imagine where it opens up for, like, in the East Coast, let's go to the San Diego Zoo and let's hear directly from a zookeeper and have each class be able to talk to one of the keepers or the host of whatever. This is going to completely change. So yeah, you know what? Right now we can't meet in person, but why not offer these experiences online? And so, I think it's going to cause people to think a lot differently, like you just said.
Yeah, and I keep on thinking about it. It's still something I don't have a definite conclusion on, but you can just identify all of these massive shifts. Like, for example, people like who need psychological help. Like my wife and I want to do marriage counseling. We're open about that just to improve our marriage. But we might not necessarily be able to go. We have kids. We can't leave. Now a psychologist can meet with us over Zoom. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of things that have changed, and that's more when convenience and price come together, it's incredible. This like equilibrium that's out of place, and the opportunities that are available in so many different industries. And I think getting back to soft selling, if you're in one of these industries, like we were in one of these industries, live streaming, underutilized, very much an innovator space in 2015, 16, 17. Not many businesses understanding how to do it. And we went the content marketing model and we said, here's how to do it. Here's how you do it this way. Here's how you do it with this software. Here's how you do it for this vertical, and try to speak specifically to small business owners or government agencies, and then use your storytelling capabilities to bring people into a comfortable environment where they can understand the possibilities of what you're doing. And that content marketing strategy, is something that we've really worked hard on as well. That I'd be remiss not to talk about the importance of SEO, blogging, podcasting, video making, and not just making the content, but connecting it together, and, having a website that you're proud of, a website that delivers the content properly, that the Google algorithm says this is the right content, this is of good authorship, your domain authority on your domain hopefully is rising. You're keeping an eye on the Alexa rank. Who's linking to you? Are there people that you can reach out to and say, hey, I've got this great blog post about this. How about you help me? You link with me, do link building. All of these things are super important. I talked about, we hired a social media person. We hired a video person. Eventually we got a writer. And then I realized, and this is something anyone who's starting to build their team, is that we needed an SEO specialist. It's so important. Simple tweaks and, really thinking about SEO. That's what brings the whole content marketing strategy together. Without the focus and thought process of SEO, you're missing a massive opportunity. Whether you're spending money on pay-per-click, if you can bring together the thought process of, okay, we're creating this video for these people, how do you get the people to actually view it? That's, if you've got a big enough audience, you're reaching your audience. But what if you need to reach everyone in the world, or everyone that types in a specific keyword? There's a lot of SEO and learning about search engine optimization and keywords and, relevancy online, that if you can get that number one spot for a Google search term, that's exactly what you've been trying to tell people for a long time. A key tool that I use pretty regularly is called Google Trends. That's trends.google.com. And I just type in some stuff because I'm always, that kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier about searching for what's happening, what's new, what's innovative, where is the market going. You can just start typing things into Google Trends and it'll say, this is trending. And when I wrote my last book, The Virtual Ticket, which is a guide for event planners to virtualize their conferences and have virtual events and sell virtual tickets, which I think is so important. I just went in there and I typed in virtual events and it was just like skyrocket. It was off the charts. It was like, few people are looking for this, few people are looking for this. The coronavirus hits and boom, off the charts, crazy. And then another search term was virtual tickets. Just boom, tons of people searching for this. And I look online, there's no books about it. There's very little information about it. Over the years, I had been writing about it sporadically. I said, let's create a good piece of content that can be like our hero content regarding these trending topics. And that was more of soft selling that came through SEO and content and keyword research that informed me, okay, this is what we should be, this is like, let's nudge the people we work with, the content that we're creating in this direction, because clearly it's trending right now.
Well, and that's innovation at its finest, right? And just the kind of like the natural evolution of where you're going because you are in all of these different verticals and mediums. And I hope for those individuals, as this show is geared around people that do live streaming, encourage them that, listen, these are tactics and strategies that you can be taking to organizations that are local to you, that are having to alter their model. They don't need to learn how to do this stuff. You've already got the tools probably to do this. Go and pitch these ideas to them. Bring them virtually online in a new way and help them understand the value of soft selling, just to put information out there and to genuinely want to help other people. And when you champion their story, then they're going to reciprocate back to you, right? They're going to appreciate the intrinsic value that you provide to them, as their customers are appreciating that value as well. Well, listen, if you're watching this show online, on Facebook, or you're listening to us on our podcast, either on Spotify, Apple, or Google, just know that we've been talking with Paul Richard. He's the Chief Streaming Officer of Stream Geeks and PTZ Optics. Paul, in this soft selling thing, anything you want to wrap up with? How's PTZ Optics? I know you're sold out of all your products. We won't see each other at NAB. Any cats that we should know about that are going to come out of the bag, or any dates that we should be watching for any product announcements?
Well, it's an interesting time right now where getting a specific date from an engineer or a manufacturing perspective is difficult right now. So I don't have any specific dates or anything. Obviously, we have a lot of great stuff coming down the pipeline. Very excited to be exploring always new, innovative video communication technologies. So, and collaboration as well. Collaboration is so important to this. I guess the last thing I would say is that the thank you to anyone who has followed us or watched a video or purchased a product, or, even just in a comment in a live stream, for folks out there who have customers and are consulting with people who are thinking about live streaming. One of the most powerful things is getting the feedback and the instant feedback from a new product or service or approach that you're taking. And that has really been key for us. And I think it will be key for many, many companies starting to learn how to use video content strategies and marketing, because you can get instant feedback about your new product, your new service, your new idea, your integration, your webinar, and you can slowly crowdsource what people are interested in. You can crowdsource your next idea. So don't forget that if somebody comments on your video, that's a real person, and you should reply. I didn't know that a few years ago. I didn't respond to any comments. Like, wow, that was dumb. Doing all the work, but forgetting that last mile of actually connecting with these people.
Right.
So I would say, listen to people when they comment. Some people are trolls. Ignore the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. But if it's a real person, engage them. Ask them why they're asking about this or that, and remember that this is valuable information that will lead you down a journey of better communication and collaboration with your customers and prospects. And through that process, it's really rewarding. And I call it kind of crowdsourcing your next idea, just simply by being a thought leader, getting out there and simply listening.
And you never know who the next brand ambassador is going to be. They leave a comment, you reply back to them. Their area of influence in their whatever segment they're in, whether it be in churches or live streaming. How many times, I don't know how many times we've recommended PTZ Optics cameras because we believed in a product and because we received value, but you would not have known that the very first time that we met. And I was like, hey, can I please stop by your studio and see how you do this thing? You could have very easily said, hey, look, we're really busy, but that's not you. That's not your company. That's not Stream Geeks. That's not PTZ Optics. And as a result of that, here now you have a person who is advocating for your brand and everything else that you're doing. So I think it's important, like you said, not to forget that last mile component of it, because you don't know how long that last mile is going to end up taking you.
Well, thank you for everything, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's been amazing working with you and getting to know you. And I really appreciate you having me on the podcast today.
Thanks, pal. I really appreciate you being here. As we wind things up, we're super thankful that you could join us on episode 3. The show notes for this will be available online at smartlivestreamer.com/003. Again, if you're listening to us on podcast, jump over to our Facebook page where you can watch the live interview today with Paul, but also where we provide information like quick tips and live streaming tactics and strategies. Every Friday, we're going to come to you with a Fail Friday. We know that learning from our mistakes is important, and if they say that it takes 10,000 hours to master anything, we oftentimes don't have 10,000 hours of streaming, and our clients expect us to stream the right way the first time. And so every Friday with the Fail Friday, we're going to learn from a mistake that I or somebody else in a live streaming space has made so that you don't have to go through those pain points. I want to thank you for joining us again and have a great rest of your week.